Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is September the 26th, 2022, and we are going to continue our study in Leviticus today, and we're going to be looking at Leviticus chapter 7. But before we do that, I have a quick correction that I want to make on Leviticus chapter 6, where we're talking about chattel slavery. I actually missed something. They actually do tell us that it is a slave in here. I just didn't see it because I skipped a word. In this word deposit, when I was reading through it, I skipped past the word analogy. Well, I was reading through Leviticus 7 and I came across another analogy, and I was like, wait a second. There was an analogy in Leviticus chapter 6. I skipped over it, so I had to come back and check it and see what I had done. Let me look this up for you so you guys will see what this means. I gave an analogy in my original recording of Leviticus chapter 4. Now, I've taken that video down. I was a bit emotional in there, so we had to get rid of that. But it's just when you draw a picture showing the similar characteristics between two things here. If you make or draw an analogy between two things, you show that they are similar in some way. It is probably easier to make an analogy between the courses of the planets and two trains traveling in the same direction. It's just two things that are similar in the same way. They don't mean the same thing. Planets and trains have nothing to do with one another. It's the course that they're looking at. So, I should have kept that open. So, visit is the actual word. An analogy for visit is to deposit. That's the word that they gave us, deposit. It really doesn't have anything to do with the root word. If you visit someone, then you are the deposit. You are taking yourself and inputting yourself into another man's space. It's really almost exactly the opposite of what we are told that it's happening here. So, hold on. A deposit, that which was delivered to keep or store. Well, it is the opposite, because you are actually the person, the person that is being deposited. So you are the possessor here, not that you are delivering something for someone else to keep. Something has been delivered. You have something. You have been delivered something to keep. You are the possessor. You see, if you visit someone else, then you have deposited yourself into their space. You are the one that is taking. So when it says, if a soul sin and commit a trespass against the Lord and lie unto his neighbor in that which was delivered him to keep, it's saying his own stuff. It's making this word delivered here, it's throwing you off. And lying to his neighbor about his stuff. His slave is what he's talking about. It's like saying if you own a dictionary. It's like saying that dictionary was delivered for you to keep. Kind of like your child. Your child was delivered for you to keep. This is the slave here. This is what they're talking about. They actually put it in the Bible. They just changed the word. And lie into his neighbor about his slave. That's what it's saying. So this word, when we take another look at this word, now that we have a better understanding, I can look at the definition and have a better understanding of what's being said here. So now a deposit, that is pledging. Let's look up pledging. When someone makes a pledge, they make a serious promise that they will do something. The meeting ended with a pledge to step up cooperation between the 6 states and the region. Now let's look up fellowship. A fellowship is a group of people that join together for a common purpose or interest. The National Schizophrenia Fellowship, we know it's a group of people that join together for a common purpose or interest. What they're talking about here is a marriage relationship between a man of color and a person of no color. That's why it uses the word fellowship here. A slave in fellowship. And it applies to power, giving him the power to fellowship because it's a male. And that's why they inferred that it was black when we looked up the word tessera. I can't remember the word. Let's see. Tessera. Yeah. Anyway, that's my correction there. This is still robbery and deceived his neighbor, runaway slave, things such as that. But they actually tell you in here. I thought they had taken it out. No, this is the word here. This is what they put in there in regards to the slave. They just changed it up a little bit to throw us off. Anyway, let's move on. Let's take a look at Leviticus chapter 7. Likewise, this is the law of the trespass offering. It is most holy. Now, because it said likewise, I had to start off the first verse by going backwards and taking a look at what was going on. They're speaking here likewise because they're going through all of the offerings and offering up additional information about each of them. So here they were discussing the sin offering. So when we go to Leviticus chapter 7, it continues on. Likewise, this is the law of the trespass offering. It is most holy. In the place where they kill the burnt offering, shall they kill the trespass offering, and the blood thereof shall he sprinkle round about the altar. Of course, he is going to be the priest. It's going to continue on from the previous chapter. Remember now, in Leviticus chapter 6, it started off where they were talking to the priests and about the priests only. And you're going to see that here in the first couple of verses. And then as it closes, you see where they change it. They're going to change it, and then they're going to start including everyone. And he shall offer of it all the fat thereof, the rump, and the fat that covereth the inwards, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, which is by the flanks, and the caul that is above the liver, with the kidneys, it shall he take away. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar for an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a trespass offering. Every male among the priests shall eat thereof. It shall be eaten in the holy place. It is most holy. This didn't happen, people. This did not happen. The trespass offering isn't true. It isn't a real thing. But they didn't eat anything in that temple. If they ate something, they were hungry, or they didn't want to go home or something like that, they didn't eat in that temple at all. Maybe they might have had a lunch break, or they ate like a regular job. They weren't eating stuff in the temple. They just weren't. Nothing. No different than a regular job. That's the way it worked. And I doubt if they got hungry that they would stay there. They would go there, do their jobs, and then they would go home and eat. I want you to think about this logically for a second. No, we're not going to. No, because I think they're going to talk about this again. So we'll wait, because trespass offering isn't real. This isn't a real thing. Literally none of this is real. So let's move on for now, and we're gonna talk about this topic some more, because they're gonna bring it up again. As the sin offering is, so is the trespass offering. There is one law for them. The priest that maketh atonement therewith shall have it. No, no, and no again. We have read through the sin offering and we have read through the trespass offering. They are not the same. They are not the same. They said destroy all of the sin offerings. Then they said a person can eat from the trespass offerings. They have a trespass offering that is bread. They are not the same. There is one law for them. No, we just read them. This is not true. The priest that maketh atonement. Oh, well, maybe this is what they mean. There is one law for them. The priest that maketh atonement therewith shall have it. No, because shall have what? No, the offering is different. The offering is different. Plain and simple. And we just read through 6 of them. We know that this is not true. The priest that look this. Let's talk about this make atonement here. I haven't looked it up. I don't have to look it up. I've read it enough to I know exactly what they're trying to say, and I'm fairly clear about it. They're trying to say when they say maketh atonement, the priest that's maketh atonement for you, they are wholly saying that you get to go to heaven. They're saying that the blood of Christ has been shed for you. We're going to make things right with God. We can get you in and out of heaven. And the atonement is the language that they're using to say, you get to go to heaven now. The priest shall make atonement therewith. That's what they mean. That's not true. The priest is not getting anyone into heaven. He's not. This is symbolic. All of it is symbolic to show you the plan that God and Jesus have made in order to restore you back to perfection so that you might stand before God in heaven. Everyone wants you there. Maybe a couple of enemies don't want you there. But the people in heaven want you there. And the priest that offereth any man's burnt offering, even the priest shall have to himself the skin of the burnt offering which he has offered. This comes from Leviticus chapter 1. Let's see. I have a couple of other verses in here. We're gonna skip through those real quick because I can't recall what they were in here for. These are some of the instances that I put in here that showed that there was a difference between the offering systems. Here we go. And he shall flay the burnt offering and cut it into his pieces. This word flay is what they're using to justify that the skin can go to the priest. But this word flay does not mean, they're trying to change the meaning of the word flay. They're trying to say that it is, this is the word analogy. This is why I had to go back to Leviticus chapter 6. So let's read it. To spread out, that is deploy in hostile array. By analogy, which we just read that word, to strip. So it's similar to stripping. That is unclothed, plunder, flay. The word flay did not mean to skin that animal back then. It meant to spread it out. I think they still use the same term in butcher shops to flay it out. It doesn't mean to skin it. I'm sure I've heard that on a Cooking Network once, twice. Anyway, that's the way they use this word flay in the Bible. So that's what they're talking about there. But it's not true. That animal was not skinned. The burnt offering is holy. It is burnt up in its entirety. The priest that offereth any man's burnt offering, even the priest shall have to himself the skin of the burnt offering which he has offered. It is not true. Absolutely not. The burnt offering was burnt up in its entirety. And all the meat offering that is baken in the oven, and all that is dressed in the frying pan, and in the pan shall be the priest that offereth it. And now we know that none of this is real either. This is just some stuff that they made up for the meal offering or the meat offering. This is not real. They just put many words in here to confuse you. That's what they were doing. And every meat offering mingled with oil, this is real. And every meat offering mingled with oil and dry shall all the sons of Aaron have, one as much as another. You know, I noticed a pattern here that they keep leaving off I forgot to look into it. They keep leaving off the drink offering, the wine. So I'm thinking maybe the wine was not always offered. Maybe it was just offered with the burnt offering and not offered with the peace offering. But I forgot to check into that. But they have a pattern of leaving out the drink offering whenever they speak of the peace offerings. I think that maybe the wine offering was only offered with the original burnt offering. This is a real offering, but this is not true. They would just bring the correct amount. They were given the amounts that were needed for the original offering: a fourth of a hin of oil, something of an ephah, a tenth of an ephah of flour, a fourth of a hin of wine. Well, there's no. Why would they bring more? They paid their tithes. That's what the priests lived off of, tithes. There is one more offering we're going to discuss that I do believe that they had. And they'll bring it up in this study. And I couldn't see any reason why it wasn't true. I actually believed that it was. So we'll discuss that as well. But this is not true. This is a true offering. Flour mingled with oil. But there was nothing left of the priest. They just brought the correct amount. And that was all. And this is the law of the sacrifice of the peace offering, which he shall offer unto the Lord. If he offer it, so they went from the burnt offering to the meal offering to the peace offering, And I noticed that it was very strange that all of this was just written as one whole. There was no break in it where it says, hold on. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, which is usually what happens whenever there's a break in the cohesiveness it's just broken up into segments when they start speaking of a different topic. But everything here is just kind of blended together. If he offer it for thanksgiving, then he shall offer with the sacrifice of thanksgiving unleavened cakes mingled with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil, and cakes mingled with oil of fine flour fried. This word thanksgiving is just another word for thanks offering, and it means it's like a praise offering. It is the praise that you give. It's really a man. That's what it's supposed to be, because a man has to offer praises and thanks to God. So it's symbolic of a man. But let's look at some of the ways that it's used. We're going to skip past chapter 7. And when ye shall offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving unto the Lord, offer it at your own will. And Joshua said unto Achan, my son, give, I pray thee, glory to the Lord God of Israel, and make confession unto him, and tell me now what thou hast done. Hide it not from me. And Hezekiah answered and said, now ye have consecrated yourselves unto the Lord. Come near and bring sacrifices and thank offerings into the house of the Lord. And the congregation brought in sacrifices and thank offerings, as many as were free of heart burnt offerings. And he repaired the altar of the Lord and sacrificed thereon peace offerings and thank offerings. These are confessions of praise. That's why they use the word confessions. We're going to go down and we're going to look at some where it says praise. So stood the two companies of them that gave thanks in the house of God, and I and the half of the rulers with me, that I may publish with the voice of thanksgiving and tell of all thy wondrous works. It's just words, but it's symbolic of the people that are given the thanks, because the people speak the words. When I remember these things, I pour out my soul in me, for I have gone with the multitude. I went with them to the house of God with the voice of joy and praise, with the multitude that kept holy day. The vows are upon me, O God. I will render praises unto thee. I will praise the name of God with song, and will magnify him with thanksgiving. Let us come before his presence with the thanksgiving, and make a joyful noise unto him with psalms. It's just praising God. If he offer it for a thanksgiving, then he shall offer with the sacrifice of thanksgiving unleavened cakes mingled with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil, and cakes mingled with oil of fine flour fried. This is because this Thanksgiving is symbolic of a man. I can say that I'm glad that they didn't make this the sacrifice of a beast. They did at least use the fine flour. They're all cakes. They're all made with flour. It would not be impossible to believe, except that it's not true. It's not true. But it really is just, it's not impossible to believe that they would go and give praises and just give thanks and then take mingled unleavened cakes. It's just not, because it's symbolic of the actual man giving the thanksgiving. So I'm going to say, I got to say no. I have to say no. I don't believe that is true. But it's not impossible that it isn't true. So I'll leave it up to you. I don't believe it. But I'll leave it up to you. Besides the cakes, he shall offer for his offering leavened bread with the sacrifice of thanksgiving of his peace offering. No leavened bread. I think I put a couple of scriptures in there about leavened bread being offered on the altar at all when they were speaking about the sin offering. Hold on. No meat offering. Oh, this is the actual meat offering, okay? No meat offering which ye shall bring into the Lord shall be made with leaven. For ye shall burn no leaven nor any honey in any offering of the Lord made by fire. It shall not be baken with leaven. This will be the sin offering, I think. It shall not be baken with leaven. I have given it unto them for their portion of my offerings made by fire. It is most holy. It is the sin offering and the trespass, and as the trespass offering. I think that might be it. Let's look at the next and see. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Let's go back. You didn't take leaven in there. You didn't take leaven in there. The Leviticus 23, I think I'm going to go there. There was no leaven in that bread either. That's not real. Those cakes were similar to the cakes that were in the temple on the shewbread. You didn't put leaven in those cakes. I thought about it. I remembered that I don't even know if there was leaven in the cakes. Now that I think about it, I'm not even sure if there was leaven in the bread that Jesus was eating. But for a long time, I went back and forth with myself about the leaven that was in the bread in Leviticus 23. It doesn't make any sense. It destroys the picture, and that's what we see over and over again in the early chapters of Leviticus. They just destroy the picture that has been drawn by the feasts. And this is how I can say with certainty that this stuff is just not true, because it doesn't fit into the illustrations that are given without destroying the illustration altogether. And Moses was kept out of the holy place because he destroyed an illustration. You're not going to tell me that this is just an oversight. It's not an oversight. It's a lie. There was no leavened bread. Over and over and over and over again, we're told leaven represents sin. Leaven represents wickedness. But then all of a sudden, we're supposed to believe that you're supposed to put leaven in the bread of a peace offering? People, it's not true. It's not true. Besides the cakes, he shall offer for his offering leavened bread with the sacrifice of thanksgiving of his peace offering. And of it he shall offer one out of the whole oblation for an heave offering unto the Lord, and it shall be the priest that sprinkleth the blood of the peace offering. I have no idea what they're talking about here. They chopped too much out of the sentence, and they left this one here, and it just destroys the whole sentence. I have no idea what they're speaking of. One out of the whole oblation? One what? What are you talking about? Anyway, we're going to discuss the heave offering more, so we're going to bypass that part as well. This is just, it means nothing. And the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offering for thanksgiving shall be eaten the same day that it is offered. He shall not leave any of it until the morning. This is not true. We've discussed this before. I want to give you a picture here. I want to draw the picture that is drawn in the Bible. We all know. I don't know if you guys know or not. The peace offering. Everyone, all of Israel, was commanded 3 times a year to go to Jerusalem and make an offering and celebrate. They were to celebrate, okay? And so they would all come to this one place, and they would have this offering system. They would offer their burnt offering, which represented Christ. Along with the burnt offering, they would offer the meal offering, and then they would offer the peace offering. The peace offering is what they're discussing here. And this is the meal that they ate. It was a feast. Right? So every man, they would get together and say, okay, we have this many men. Let's kill one bull for all of our families, right? So they would go, and at high noon, they offer the bull. And that is symbolic. The high noon, killing the sacrificial system represents us being cleaned and perfected. High noon would represent the millennial. And then, so the ox would be killed at high noon, and the bull would be cooked and eaten going into the next day, representing us celebrating with God throughout all of eternity. So how, aside from it destroying the image by saying you had to eat it all by the morning, I mean, if you could cook it that quick, it's going to also say the peace offering shall be eaten the same day that it's offered. It shall not leave any of it this morning. And it also tells us that it's eaten in the most holy place by the priests. If all of Israel is there making peace offerings, how many bulls can one person eat? They would literally had to have eaten themselves to death. And then there would still be plenty of bulls left over for them to eat if they had to eat all that stuff by themselves because of these lies. And they had to eat it all in one day. It's nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. And the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offering for thanksgiving shall be eaten the same day that is offered. He shall not leave any of it until the morning. So this is the sacrifice. So this is what they would take home. This isn't the part about the priest having to eat it the same day. But they didn't have to eat this the same day. They could eat it whenever they wanted to. This was a celebration, and the celebration was symbolic of us celebrating for eternity with God. There was no cap on this. They could sit around and cook it all night and eat on it all night into the morning, take some leftovers home and eat that too. But if the sacrifice of his offering be a vow or a voluntary offering, it shall be eaten the same day that he offereth his sacrifice, and on the morrow also the remainder of it shall be eaten. This word right here just means the morning of the same day. It's one day. This is symbolically 6 a.m. until 12 noon. The same day. But yet and still, they didn't realize that. Just like they didn't realize fat was fat. But the remainder of the flesh of the sacrifice on the third day shall be burnt with fire. They thought it was a different day. They just made it up. It's just made all this stuff up. And if any of the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offering be eaten at all on the third day, it shall not be accepted, neither shall it be imputed unto him that offereth it. It shall be an abomination, and the soul that eateth of it shall bear his iniquity. Now, you cannot be imputed anything in regards to the peace offering. You're already perfected when you eat it. Let's look this word up, as a matter of fact. Impute. If you impute something such as blame or a crime to someone, you say that they are responsible for it or are the cause of it. It is grossly unfair to impute blame to the United Nations. So what they're trying to say is that Jesus is responsible for your sins. So let's say, and if any of the flesh of the sacrifice of the peace offering be eaten at all on the third day, it shall not be accepted, neither shall it be imputed unto him that offereth it. It shall be an abomination, and the soul that eateth of it shall bear his iniquity. Neither shall it be imputed, neither shall they be given credit, is what they're trying to say. They're not given credit for the offering, and that is needed in order for your sins to be taken off of you. That's not true. The peace offering had nothing to do with sin at all. The peace offering is a celebratory offering, holy. And the flesh that toucheth any unclean thing shall not be eaten. Well, we're at 33. Let's stop here. We will come back and we will pick up in verse 18. Yeah, let's go ahead and stop here. And I will see you in the next video.